Guys, what is up? Back at you once again. It is your boy, Chin, that freaking Mark. You know what happened? Blackcraft Wrestling had another pay-per-view. And you know what that means? We're gonna talk about it. That's what it means. Heyo! So we got this bitch opening up with a video promo from old Dougal Bear backstage, just talking about how he's got nothing against Dusty Wrestling personally, but he does have everything against Destiny Wrestling's main promoter, or like the guy that is responsible for the Destined Wrestling. So he basically had beef with that guy right off the bat. That's all the explanation he needed there. And I just want to make a side note before we get too deep into this, because I don't want to have to mention it a million times throughout this. Fire the fucking guy that was in charge of people's entrance music. Kept cutting shit off, has no clue how to fucking fade something out. Bro, you don't know how to turn down a fucking volume dial? I can say this shit from experience. It's not fucking hard, okay? Blackcraft, if you need a sound guy, what's up? I make videos for like all your events, so holler. I can do that too. First match of the night, though, was one that actually kind of got announced fairly late to the card. I'm talking about my man, Raver, versus Channing Decker, and I'm just going to tell you all of the spotty spots that we had in this, because it's going to be a lot easier to just go through that. Okay. Right off the bat, they whip a door out from under the ring, because that's a perfect place to keep him, right? Raver throws Decker through that, all about it. That's just the start of Decker's torment, because he also gets a cinder block set up on his balls, and then Raver chucked a cinder block into that cinder block, and that prompted a balls of steel chant because he survived it. Oh man. Decker also got a double knees through some fucking thumbtacks, and there was also a board laid down, so it would have definitely been an even more uncomfortable landing. Decker does get a little bit of redemption though, because he Death Valley drivers Raver's ass straight up through some fucking light tubes. I knew it wasn't going to take long before light tubes showed up in BCW, especially with Raver, so spot on there. We do get a classic Raver spot of tattoo needles in Decker's fucking forehead, and then just flatliners his ass right afterwards, and they go flying all the fuck over the place. It was a pretty epic visual. Speaking of an epic visual, the way the match ended, we had like a set up remainder of table, or maybe it was that board from earlier. It was like on two chairs, and then Raver goes to fucking Rana Decker's ass off the top rope and just very quickly halts it and turns that bitch into a power bomb and just throws Raver's ass through it. And Raver is 0-3 in Blackcraft Wrestling. Still love you though, dog. So when you open up your pay-per-view with a death match, it's gonna cause a mess, which means your commentators are gonna have to talk for a long while that mess is getting cleaned up, and that's exactly what happened next. Completely unforgivable, because I really enjoyed the match that had happened. It started off a little slow, I'll be honest, but it completely picked up and was entertaining as all hell. But yeah, again, throughout all this cleanup in the commentary, we have a lot of the commentary, and we also have some shots of OVE in the crowd, just harassing fans who paid good money to be there. Oh! So next up on the card here, we have what is basically Team Blackcraft versus Team Destiny. Team Blackcraft being Ace Austin, Pinky Sanchez, best fucking name ever, and Lord Crew versus Follow Ba, which everyone loved, Ryan Wright and Lee Costa. Not gonna lie, I'm not as familiar with the Destiny dudes on this side of the match, but it was a good match regardless. One of the things just fairly notable, we had magical paper cuts from Ace Austin, because he's a fucking magician, right? Just pulling cards out of nowhere and just wha-cha, swiping them bitches like they're credit cards or something. It was really good all in all, but there was kind of like a weird mid-match miscommunication that just kind of caused like a second of just like the air to be let out of the match. It did result in Pinky Sanchez just dropping fucking Costa on his face if you go back and watch it. It was funny for me, but that's probably just because I'm a dick. Dave Christ, who was still in the audience, just kind of scoping things out, just didn't really like what he was seeing overall, so he just kind of like, OVE dogs, come on, done with this shit, let's just bounce, and that's exactly what they did. So they left Pinky Sanchez in the ring to just become a human punching bag, and that is exactly what he turned into. He was just getting murdered, getting finishers from all of Team Destiny, getting rolled on by the dudes, because they're just fucking weird. And then as soon as it's no longer of relevance and everyone has left, Chris Dickinson shows up for his buddy Pinky Sanchez, and shit gets real because Michael Elegan shows up. And Michael Elegan and Chris Dickinson, well, they got some history, is basically what I got out of this whole situation. And it just turned into a match right then and there. I was like, holy shit, this is actually happening. Chris Dickinson versus Michael Elegan. And yeah, again, this is kind of one of those matches where both of the dudes definitely got history with one another, and they definitely got some egos. They're both trying to be the hardest hitting dudes in the room, right? I think that's what they were saying on commentary. This entire match was just a fucking one-upping contest. That's literally all it was. It was just chops, just waiting to receive the chops from the other dude. That's all it was the whole time. It was one-upping, back and forth, back and forth. The Destiny commentator on this match just kept saying Dickinson the entire fucking match, and that was so comical to me because he knew exactly what he was doing. The last half of the match, though, was just big moves left and right. The guys were just pulling out. It was pretty impressive. And then Dickinson got the pile driver just all out of nowhere in there, just finished this bitch up real quick. And the crowd just put both dudes over, literally chanting both of these guys at the end of the match. We had ourselves a classic handshake and a big old sweaty hug. Get in here. Alright, and next up, we have ourselves a fantastic match. Here's the deal. From the second that Dick Justice came out rocking the freshest, like, Led Zeppelin parody Dick Justice shirt I've ever seen, like, oh my god, I want it, I knew this match was going to be hilarious. And then fucking Indiana Jones came out, Stone Rockwell, and just started this match off by asking, where's your catchphrase? What is your catchphrase? I have a catchphrase. My catchphrase is awesome. And it was hilarious. Dick Justice just wasn't having it though, so he puts a little bit of beating down on the Stone Rockwell there. Stone Rockwell didn't appreciate it though, because he's all like, you know what, I'm gonna whip out my catchphrase. Did somebody say adventure? And then just slams the dick. He just slams the dick down. Justice didn't appreciate it, because you know what he did? Whips out his gun. Things got a little tense for a second because there's a loaded weapon in the middle of the ring. Apparently the only person who wasn't fazed by it though, Stone Rockwell, because apparently he harpooned the motherfucker in the face, just like blow dart. I didn't catch that, but it happened. They told me on commentary that it happened, so I must have just not been paying enough attention. And unfortunately, the match ended really quick with just a roll-up. I wanted to go on forever because it was fucking hilarious. Great match. Although, I gotta say, it is one of those matches that people who take wrestling way too fucking seriously are going to hate. Next up, we have OBE coming from out of the crowd there because they were either getting impatient or they were sick of the camera just being awkwardly put on their face like they're fucking front row at some kind of WWE show. But they came out, they start talking with the ref being like, we don't want to defend these titles or something like that. They were basically just trying to get out of it. And Aiden, Prince, and Kobe Daris just come on out because they are the opponents, right? Maybe you shouldn't be in the middle of a wrestling ring when you're trying to avoid a wrestling match, and then your opponents can come out and just make a match happen, right? Okay. This match was fucking weird though, man. So we're just going to kind of try and get through it. Ace Austin and Lord Crew show up with the belts, so that was cool. That made sense. It was almost kind of like what Viperous and Harlow O'Hare did at Burning Bridges for Sarai Night. One of the best parts of this match wasn't even the match itself. It was some of the commentary for the match, where they had to throw in the classic, hardest part of the ring, not sure if you've ever heard it line. And then they poked fun at themselves for doing so, which is awesome, because that's all me and my friends ever do when we're watching wrestling, because that's the most hilarious line that you can expect to be said every time a spot happens, right? In that area. Another fantastic spot in this match was Dave Christ just holding one of the dudes and telling everyone in the audience move out, shit's gonna go down, move. And then as soon as everyone gets out of their chairs, he's just like, nah, never mind, I'm gonna toss him back in the ring. That was fantastic, except for someone's suicide dive, Dave Christ, and not everyone in the audience was. They were more prepared on sitting back down, and it kind of sounded like some lady might have got mildly crushed by the suicide dive, because we got a "she's okay" chant out of it. So she's okay, right? And hopefully that was the end of all that. Here's where things really start to get weird, though, because up to this point, not a bad match. There's some ref interference or the ref gets knocked down, just like things happen in wrestling matches all the time, right? It was so weird. We get new champs, right? Because another ref comes out and counts the 3 count. So the ref counts the 3 count. Okay. Then it gets ruled a no contest because a referee got knocked out, but a referee also came out to approve doing a 3 count. It just was weird. It was a no contest is what it amounted to be. So OBE was still champs and everyone booed because they should have booed because that part was questionable booking. We try to make up for it for Team Destiny coming out and things just getting bizarre because then I think there was like another quick preacher promo and then the cult comes out, but yeah, the cult's there and they're just like making everyone uncomfortable because it's just like dudes in robes. I guess they weren't really that fazed by it because the beatdown still just ensued in the ring, and I think the cult just got bored of it because they just kind of disappeared. That was the end of that. Okay. Next up, we have ourselves a match that I didn't even know was really happening up until the moment, and I'm assuming it is probably because Sarai Knight had to bounce out last minute because of, you know, the whole fighting with my family thing that she's doing. By the way, go and check out that review that we have dropped on the page. Hello! One of my favorite parts about the match didn't really have anything to do with the match. Again, it was a commentary part, but it was because it was really fucking funny if you were paying attention. Mr. Destiny Man, sorry, I can't remember what your name was. He referred to one of the moves as a Greco-Roman slap in the face. I love it because I always hear commentators, you know, pointing out the Greco-Roman move, so it was hilarious to hear one that obviously was not being referred to one as that. Another thing that was great about the match that didn't really have anything to do with the match was Shotzi Blackheart. I hope to God I'm saying her name properly there. She just like straight up spears Samantha Heights, I think, or something like that, and she gets up and she's just like, terrible, terrible move because the crowd immediately just starts chanting Batista. Thankfully they didn't chant Blue Tista because they're both wrestlers were wearing black and green, no blue involved. Getting sidetracked here. Match was actually pretty quick. Sam ended up winning. Samantha Heights won. Although I gotta say, Shotzi Blackheart looked pretty good throughout the match in more ways than we then have ourselves a promo from Johnny Blackcraft, and there was a promo earlier from PJ Black, but I kinda forgot to write that one down when it was happening. So, you know what, it doesn't even matter because I could not fucking hear what was being said in this promo at all because it was blatantly obvious at this point that the microphone that Alicia Atout was holding in her hand was literally just a fucking prop. It was just there so she didn't just ask him a question and then just stood there like, no. You hold your hand out and people talking in the mic, that's what happens. The thing obviously was not mic'd up. Couldn't hear a goddamn thing that was getting said the whole time. Next up we have what should have definitely been the main event for the night. And I mean technically they said it was one of the main events for the night, but we all know the main event is what goes on last, and this definitely would have benefited even more from going on last, in my opinion. But it was great because it was another match that we had where like both competitors really know each other, and they had their, you know, history with one another, and they also both had their awesome Lucha Underground parody bandanas, so hell yeah, friendship, right? But it was great because this match started off with being like, yeah, we do got all this history, blah, 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 so we're going to put shit on the line here. I want this, that, the other thing, but most importantly, I will let you buy me dinner after this match, and that's really what it turned into between these guys. Right off the bat, both guys are just trying to get some really cheap, quick roll-ups on each other. Didn't amount to much. At one point, PJ just, like, gets Johnny in the weirdest little hold and just, like, walks over to the turnbuckle and, like, swing headbutts his ass and, like, just the most humiliating way ever. It's not a move that's there to be effective. It is definitely a move that is there to make you look like a fucking dipshit, and it looked pretty hilarious, not gonna lie. Just a lot of move scouting from one another and one-ups all throughout the match. There was what looked like it was going to be an epic spot from both guys here, but it got a little botched because they were essentially both jumping up on the ropes from the apron at the same time. Yeah, I wasn't surprised that didn't go over well. Johnny kind of stumbled to the outside, but whatever. Johnny Timbits, that is, which is apparently some kind of Canadian donut. I learned that last night, and he really loves them, so the crowd were chanting for them. Somebody brought him a box of Timbits for him to eat while he was in the match, and that's a horrible idea, because he just got fucking kicked in the face while he was eating some donuts. Dumbass. Thankfully, Blackcraft did retain. PJ Black did not have to change his name to PJ Blackcraft, and it was another hug and handshake, and the crowd just put both dudes over. Did I not say this about a match earlier in the night? Then we have ourselves the main event for the night, Simon Grimm versus Josh Alexander. If I'm just gonna point out a little personal gripe here, there's one thing that I don't like is, okay, so you know how back in like the 90s, people were wrestlers, but their gimmick was that they were also something else. Like during the day, they were like a janitor who was also a fucking wrestler. Well, Josh Alexander is one of those guys whose gimmicks is, not only am I a wrestler, I'm also a rustler. So I wear headgear and a fucking singlet, and a singlet is forgivable, but the headgear is just, it kills it. Don't fucking kill me, Josh Alexander. You could literally chew me up and shit me out in like 5 seconds. But yeah, the crowd was pretty dead as fuck throughout this match because it kind of seemed weird going on last. Nothing against you, Simon Grimm, but he just doesn't quite seem like the main event. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry saying that, Simon Grimm. But it just felt really weird. If it would have went on prior to the match we had beforehand, it would have been just fine. But it was just weird. Crowd was kind of dead. Alexander got a tombstone for the win, and the Cult showed up because they were just ashamed of Simon Gotch, probably for shaving his mustache, because that is all anyone could really focus on throughout the duration of this match. So, all in all, the show was actually really good. I enjoyed it. It just had a couple parts in it where I was a little bit like, huh? The commentators did make it seem like this was going to be a Destiny versus Blackcraft, and like, we'll see, like, who's gonna take it all in all. At the end of the night, it was an even sweep. It was four versus four, I think. Everyone won evenly. There was no real title changes, so it was a fun pay-per-view. It existed, and I'm glad that I got to see some more Blackcraft wrestling, and I'm glad I got to see Blackcraft wrestling in association with another company rather than two companies beefing with one another over stupid petty shit. So that was really awesome. I gotta see Dick Justice show up again and be fantastic. I would really like to see Raver win. Come on, man. That motherfucker almost killed himself at your guys' first show. Let's just give him a W, right? That's just my personal opinion. Maybe I'm some kind of... Guys, until the next time, it has been your boy, Chin That Freaking Mark, here talking about some BCW. And we're just going to keep talking about some more BCW until there is some more BCW to be talking about. I pretty much got my way through that sentence, so we'll call it good enough. Later. Actually, you know what? Let's try that sign off again. Did someone say adventure?